Welcome into week 2 of the Players Club. Jim Dunaway just simply hosting. These two brains are going to tell you who to pick this weekend in college football. That's Lance Taylor, that's Mick Gillespie, and we'll get here and talk a little college football. Brought to you by our friends at Maestro Dobel Diamante Tequila, the world's first clear multi-age tequila. Dobel Diamante, it's in this beautiful bottle. The bottle was the first thing my wife noticed. You talk about a great tasting tequila. It's smooth, goes down easy, and hits all the right spots.
A week ago, this time we had a case of Dobel, and now we have one bottle. That is the lone remainder. But the good news is Matt and Tyler are going to bring us more this week.
All right, looking forward to that. Looking forward to Mick, who's in studio with us today, to make some picks with us here. And we're going to start off with a big one here on the Players Club. But first, remind us about lanceslock.com.
Yeah, jump on board, lanceslock.com. $90 for everything. We've got daily packages out there. Honestly, we try to be transparent with you guys. We were 3-4 last Saturday. That's not good enough. We had our max play with Oregon State. We're going to bounce back. We're going to have a really, really good Saturday. We give you anywhere from 7 to 13 plays. I've got some circled right now. We're ready to go. So jump on board. Every play, every league, every day. It's only $90 a month. The best value in the industry, lanceslock.com. You get a free play every day, too.
Since he was 3-4, I'll start with the hot hand over here, Mick. Alabama-Texas is going to be our first game, and everyone knows the history of this rivalry. Not a rivalry, but the history of this series is that Alabama never beats Texas except unless you're playing for a national championship. The only time they beat them, the Tide with a better team in Austin. The line on this one as we're doing the show is 20.5. How are you playing this one, and what do you think of this game?
Yeah, this one's a tough one just because the line's just done nothing but grow. I mean, it was like 16, and now it's 20.5, depending on where you're playing it right now. But look, Alabama's 28-2 in their last 30 games. They win a lot of these games. They've covered the spread 5 out of 6 in their non-conference games. I like Alabama. I just think Quinn is going to have so much trouble throwing the football on this defensive line that the Crimson Tide have. But Alabama struggled last year on the road somewhat, but 20.5, I mean, that's so much respect for Alabama. I hate to give up that many points for a home dog, and I always take the home dog. So I'm taking Texas in the points here, even though I think Alabama wins the game easily.
Road troubles last year at the Swamp. Single digits, a one-possession game. Auburn, single digits. Even at home, LSU. I mean, this team wasn't overpowering in some games last year. You start with defense, though, right? And Quinn Ewers' mind and head spinning.
Well, just going back, Alabama pitches the shutout. They give up 61 total yards last week. That was without forcing a turnover, without a sack. Mm-hmm. Ewers is a guy that hasn't played. This is his second start since his junior year of high school. And his only other start in 2 years was against Louisiana Monroe, where second play of the game he throws a pick. This Alabama defense is going to be something he's never seen before. We talk about guys, once they get to the next level in the NFL, those tight windows. He's going to have a lot of tight windows. I think multiple mistakes. One guy that will not be rattled is maybe the best player in football. That's Bryce Young. On the other side, you've got Will Anderson. And how about these numbers? Alabama has been a 20-plus point road favorite 26 times, 26-0 straight up, and they're actually 18-8 against the number.
Wow, those are big numbers.
So they've been good in those spots, and you look at Texas, this is the largest dog they've ever been at home. Before that, it was 2014. They were getting 14.5 to Baylor. So Texas, they're used to losing lately. They're not used to being a 3-touchdown dog at home. Mm-hmm. So I like Alabama. I'm laying the points.
So Alabama.
They did beat Baylor.
He took Texas.
Yeah.
I took Texas.
Oh, you took Texas. Good call.
But they did beat Baylor.
They did beat Baylor.
Remember that.
I know.
Yeah.
Baylor, Alabama, a little bit different.
I know. Look, and I like Alabama in these early season games too, but 20 and a half points at home.
I'm with you. I'm going to go Texas because of the hook, that 20.5. It could be a 20-point game. I'll take Texas inside the number, just barely there. All right, Dobel, they bring us the Diamante Tequila, the Players Club, lanceslock.com, Mick Gillespie, and also Lance Taylor. I'm simply Jim Dunaway. Let's go to game number 2 this week. Also in the SEC, this is South Carolina at Arkansas. Arkansas -9, Mick. Let's start right there. The Hogs, I don't know what you thought about their game against Cincinnati. For me, that was an impressive win.
I lost some games last year, and a lot of them were Arkansas. Me betting against Arkansas, and then Arkansas either covering or winning the football game outright. I'm not going to make the same mistake this year. I watched Arkansas Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati was a little bit better than I thought.
I would agree with you.
But look, Arkansas still won the game, and I never felt like it was in doubt, right? KJ Jefferson, to me, can throw the ball. He can run the ball. South Carolina has to play these games where everyone makes mistakes, and it's just kind of like a sloppy, and then they get lucky at the end of the game. Spencer Rattler didn't look good last week. Look, I get it. The Carolina offensive line has played a bunch of games together, 134 starts combined, but they're still not any good. I'm going with Arkansas. I hate to give up those points, but it's at Arkansas. I feel like Arkansas is the more tested team, and I feel comfortable with what they're doing right now. Sam Pittman's awesome.
Arkansas, I love Sam Pittman. Arkansas's a better team. I don't disagree with that. They're at home. This number has grown all the way out to 9. I didn't touch Arkansas Cincinnati. I did have Georgia State against South Carolina, and I thought they would win the game. They had a second-half lead, 3 phases of football. Offense, defense, special teams. Special teams killed Georgia State. But I got to give Shane Beamer credit. I mean, that's what his dad excelled in. Yeah. 2 block punts for touchdowns last week. Special teams could come into play on this game as well. Arkansas had that 14-0 lead against Cincinnati on Saturday. Cincinnati outscores them 24-17 in the second half. Thought it was a nice win for Arkansas. Thought it was a pretty impressive loss by Cincinnati. I think this is going to be another really tight game. I like South Carolina in this spot. We'll see what happens here. Typically, Arkansas does have more talent, but I think 9 points is too many here.
Yeah, it seems like a 1-touchdown game for me. I like South Carolina as well. Better quarterback, KJ Jefferson, from what we saw last week. But we've seen Spencer Rattler a few times at Oklahoma be good, really good. We'll see if he can get that this week in week 2. Game number 3 of 6 today. A big one for the Big Orange Nation. They've been talking about being back for a long, long time. Here comes Tennessee. A lot of offseason talk about Hendon Hooker and this Tennessee team. It's time to put up or shut up time. On the road at Pitt, Tennessee, almost a touchdown favorite. 6.5 is the way we'll play this. Minus 6.5 at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I'm going to go against myself. I think this time I was at last year's Tennessee-Pitt game, and Pitt looked like they were going to get blown out at the beginning of the game. Tennessee had receivers wide open all over the place. The problem was that Hendon Hooker was on the bench. He came into that game, and he's been great ever since. Last week, 351 yards, a couple of touchdowns running and a couple throwing. Cedric Tillman is a really good wide receiver. Jabari Smalls is running the ball right now. West Virginia should have won the game at Pitt. I felt like the calls, every single one of them went against West Virginia. And Pitt barely won that football game. I wasn't impressed. And everybody talked about how good Pitt's defensive line was going to be. I didn't think they were putting a lot of pressure on. I'm not a big – Slovis has been impressive to me. But I just think Tennessee, they score 45 a game. This game, take the over in this game, first off. And Tennessee scored 45 points in their last 4 games. That's a school record. Pitt scored like 30 in 14 of their last 18. So a track meet, just like last year, I just think Tennessee wins the football game, but I'm not sold on them covering. I'm taking Pitt and taking the points. I think Tennessee wins by 3.
Mick's threading a needle over here.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. To me, Pitt last week played a really bad game. I think they're better than that. I thought Pitt was another team that would win 10 or 11 games, kind of like last year. And I thought it started up front with the offensive line, defensive line. I agree with you. Against West Virginia, they didn't look good. Slovis was running around in the pocket for his life at times. I think they play better. But I look at Tennessee last week, as dominant as they were against Ball State, 0 sacks. So if they can't get pressure on Slovis, I think he'll have a field day against that Tennessee defense. Tennessee 4-11 against the number, their last 15 against ranked opponents. On the other side, Pitt 4-1, their last 5 at home as a dog of 6.5 or less. They're getting 6.5 here. I like Pitt. I'm not going to be surprised if they win the game outright. That'd be a bad loss for the SEC, but I like Pitt here.
I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee by a lot. But again, these two are the pros, and I'm the one wearing a landmine T-shirt here. But I think it's the defensive line that gets home, and they cause Slovis a lot of problems, just like West Virginia did. I think the Tennessee athletes are better than the West Virginia athletes. We're brought to you by our friends at Dobel Diamante Tequila. It's the Players Club, lanceslock.com. Go sign up, check that service out, and join up. Houston and Texas Tech is our next game. Houston at Texas Tech. Mick, this is one that Texas Tech's dealing with a little bit of a quarterback problem. But they think they've got depth in the quarterback room. We're going to play this. The number hasn't changed a whole lot, even with the quarterback being out. -3, Red Raiders at home.
Look, Houston won last week, right? It was they were tested. They went and won last week. I like them again this week. I think Texas Tech's one of those teams you got to keep an eye on. But I like Houston. I like their ability to score points, throw the football, and I think that this is one of those games where they're circling this. You know, they want to win against in-state teams in the Power 5. They're heading that direction, so I think they're a good football team.
Well, look, Clayton Tune can play. We saw last week, it looked like Texas San Antonio had that game. He brings them back. They win the game in triple overtime. I think that will catapult them, the momentum going into Texas Tech. Tyler Shucks out. Donovan Smith was thrown into action. It was against Murray State. He played well. I think he's going against a much better defense. Dana Holgorsen, as West Virginia's coach, 3-1 against the number when he coached in Lubbock. I'll make it 4-1. I think Houston wins the game outright. I think you're getting value here with Houston getting points. I think they're the better team. And I think Tank Dell has a big game on the outside, not only as a receiver, but also in the return game. I like Houston.
Yeah, but see, I'm just a layman on the show. Texas Tech loses their starting quarterback early in the game, and I'm looking at this line. It's still Texas Tech, the favorite in this one.
I get it.
It looks really weird to me. I like Texas Tech to win the game outright and cover the points there. All right, game number 5 of our 6. It's a big one in the SEC, back at the Swamp where some of the college football world got sort of shaken up last week when Florida beat Utah. Now here comes Kentucky. Kentucky at Florida. We're going to play this one at Florida -6 to start with. The Gators -6. Mick, start us off.
Who's going to run the ball for Kentucky, right? I mean, is Chris Rodriguez going to be unsuspended, right?
I think Dunaway agrees with me. I think he is going to be unsuspended.
Right, I got that feeling too, right?
We're recording this on a Thursday afternoon. Nothing official has happened yet. So right now he is still suspended. But they've got injuries at running back. That's to your point.
Right.
And it's a good time to bring him off the suspension list.
Yeah, right. Will Levis, to me, is overrated. I mean, we talk about how good he is. It just always feels like with Kentucky's offense that they're missing something, right? Now, they have beaten Florida, 2 out of 4 times, right? But that's pretty much it. I mean, and when they win, it's always really nip and tuck. Florida is not a bad football team. They it looked like they quit last year, but when they played Alabama, they played them tough at the beginning of the season. They were in the SEC championship game a couple years ago, and they almost beat Alabama. Don't forget that. And that was one of the greatest Alabama teams ever in 2020. Anthony Richardson is the guy that we kept hearing he was, right? I mean, he had like a 75-yard touchdown run last week. Florida can run the football. It's in the Swamp. Billy Napier kind of has this team feeling like they can contend. They just beat Utah last week. So I feel like it's going to be the Gators. I think we're looking too hard at Kentucky. Kentucky's 5-34 against Florida ranked teams all time, and they haven't beaten Florida in consecutive years since 76 and 77. So I think I was in diapers back then.
Yeah, it's been a while. After 31 straight losses to Florida, though, the Cats are 4-0-1. Their last 5 against the number against Florida. I agree with you. Anthony Richardson was a difference maker in that win over Utah. He was incredible. Mark Stoops is a defensive guy. We're going to see if he can slow Anthony Richardson down. If he can, I don't think Florida can generate much offense. I wouldn't be surprised. Play the under here, but I'm going to go aside here. I think Will Levis, this is an opportunity for him, much like it was an opportunity for Anthony Richardson last week. I think Will Levis actually plays pretty well in this spot, and I think Chris Rodriguez plays. I think that's one of the reasons that'll balance things out for this offense. Rodriguez, by the way, 6.6 yards per carry in his career. That is the highest by any SEC running back in history.
I'm going to take Kentucky as well, which I think you are as well. And I like him because Florida, new to the scene with that big win. A lot of people patting him on the back. Anthony Richardson, Heisman talk. Billy Napier, first year there. Got to bring them back to earth really quickly against a blue collar team. I like Kentucky to win the game outright, not just to cover the points there. We're playing that at -6, so they're getting 6 points in Gainesville. One more game to tell you about, and it's a big one in the late night window. And we got a couple other games I want some quick thoughts on. But the show, the Players Club, being brought to you by Maestro Dobel Diamante Tequila and by Lance's Lock.
Yeah, lanceslock.com. Go there, free play every single day. We've been killing it for years. We're going to win for you. Baseball's been great this year. We're up in college football, too. Again, we didn't have the best Saturday. We went 3-4. We bounced back Monday night with Clemson, though. We are going to win for you. Jump on board. It's $90 for every single play. Major League Baseball, the NFL, college football. You get sides, totals, everything. $90 for the entire month. Daily packages available. Check it out, lanceslock.com.
And Mick, where can everybody get you on a daily basis and a lot more?
Yeah, look, check us out. I'm with Bama Insider, so On3 Network, Bama Insider YouTube channel on there doing shows, and then at Broadcaster Mick on Twitter.
All right, so here we go. Game number 6. It is the big showdown out in BYU, out in Provo. It's Baylor and BYU. We'll play this at BYU -3 as we record this on a Thursday afternoon. Flip it around. We'll start with you this time, LT.
You know, one of my 4 losers last week was South Florida, and I don't know why, because I knew Jeff Scott's team was so bad, and they were returning 19 starters from a 2-10 team, and everybody said, he's got the athletes. It's going to be human down there. BYU's walking into this. This is a game they could lose. And before I could even look up, it was 14-0. And then BYU just rolled them. Jaron Hall, the only thing that concerns me is Jaron Hall took 5 sacks against South Florida. And if that offensive line plays like that against Baylor, BYU's got serious problems. But BYU is a team that's won 22 of 26 games. I think at home, an altitude game, as we like to call them, Mick. I think BYU is the play here.
I'm excited about this game. I think Baylor is going to be in the college football playoff. Now, next week I might get on this show and be like, but look at
you don't look anything like Desmond Howard.
Look at both sides of the ball, though, on the lines. Their interior is really strong. They bring back 4 or 5 offensive linemen. Chapin played in big games last year. And remember, they knocked Oklahoma State out of the college football playoff. They won the Big 12. And the game, one of the best games of the season for them was their 38-24 win in Waco over BYU. You watch BYU; they won last week, but their quarterback's running around trying to save his head, Jaron Hall. I just feel like this is a really sneaky good Baylor team because it's Baylor and it's in every single sport. We always overlook them. Because they're not that flashy Texas brand. They're not Texas. They're not Texas A&M. I like Chapin. I like the fact that they've got the offensive line. I think that this is a team that is going to sneak into the college football playoff, and if they're going to do it, they're going to have to win this football game. I think they're going on the road. I think they're going to win this game, and I think that they're going to win it in the trenches.
Yeah, real quick, Dunaway, we dog out the Big 12, but Baylor in 2020 and 2021 played 8 ranked teams in those 2 years. 7-1 against the number against those
7-1. Doing it with defense, too, with Dave Aranda down there. Those are our 6 official plays here on the Players Club. I like BYU if you're just keeping up with the layman's play there at the end. For Mick, he likes Texas, Arkansas, Pittsburgh, Houston, Florida, and Baylor. Did I get that right?
Yeah, and I'm going to pay for going against Nick Saban, but I'm taking the 20.
Did you have Tennessee or Pittsburgh?
I had Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I take the home dogs a lot.
Yeah, LT likes Alabama, South Carolina, Pittsburgh, Houston, Kentucky, and BYU. All that on the Players Club this week, brought to you by Maestro Dobel Diamante Tequila. Find it wherever you buy your tequila. It is fantastic. A couple other games. Take your gambling hats off. Just your sportscaster thoughts on USC Stanford real quick. Can Stanford upset USC? Any shot at all?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a shot because, again, I think USC with 25 transfer players, I don't know if it's a team yet. They played with swagger last week. It was Rice. But you look at Stanford, this is a team that's had a lot of success against USC. Over the last 10 seasons at the Farm, USC has only averaged 10 points per game against Stanford.
That's an offensive problem. Offense shouldn't be a problem in Mississippi State, Arizona. 10 o'clock late game. Mike Leach team going out there. All of a sudden, Arizona looks like they can score too. Do you think Mike Leach and the Dogs can get it done on the road in the Pac-12?
Yeah, the Pac-12 is missing the 2 best teams here in a couple of years. I'm not impressed with Arizona. I mean, they went a year without even winning a game, right? Or maybe won one. I think Mike Leach wanted to play this kind of game. He likes the late night stuff. He's definitely an odd guy, but I'm a big fan of his. Mississippi State brings everybody back, right? They got continuity at the quarterback spot. They're a much better football team. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Too many athletes. I think Arizona is much improved with the transfer portal. I think it'll be competitive. I'm not going to be surprised if Arizona can slide under the number. But I think Mississippi State up front too much. Will Rogers too accurate.
Yeah, and don't sleep on Oregon State, Fresno State as well in that late window of a fun week 2 of college football. That's the Players Club.